Welcome to our training video, Understanding the Starkey Renovation Process. This is a complete tutorial of every step of the renovation mortgage process from time of application all the way through closing. So let's talk about the process. As with any mortgage loan, it all begins with a loan officer. Any loan officer in any Starkey office can originate a renovation loan. There's no special training needed, nor any special type of certification. All the loan officer needs to do is make sure that they watch these videos and understand the process and then follow the process. So it all begins with a loan officer. And the first step that the loan officer always takes is they take the application. This is no different. They take a complete application just like they would any other FHA or conventional loan. And then they pre-qualify the customer, based on their regular Starkey guidelines as far as debt-to-income ratios and credit scores. And then at this point in time, they run automated underwriting. They can run LP or DU for an FHA loan, but on a home-style renovation, it must be DU only because home-style is a Fannie Mae product. So once the loan officer knows that they've got a viable customer that qualifies and is approved through automated underwriting as a pre-qualification, the next step is to set up a conference call with our renovation specialist. Now, our renovation specialist is what really makes our renovation program successful, because the loan officer doesn't have to do all of the documentation and work that is required on a renovation loan. The renovation specialist will do it. So basically what's happening is the loan officer is splitting the file at this point in time. The renovation specialist will take the property side of the file, and their processor will take the credit side of the file. But the loan officer will always remain in control all the way through. So when they set up the conference call, they're going to call the customer. And on the conference call will be the loan officer, the customer, and the renovation specialist. And if the realtor would like to be on this call as well, gladly invite them to be a part of the call. On the conference call, what will happen is the renovation specialist will explain to the customer what the process is in order to get their property side of the renovation loan complete. And this begins with the scope of work, understanding what does the customer want to do to the property. So the renovation specialist will explain this to the customer, and then we'll kind of come up with an idea as to how much money they're going to need to do their renovation. And we'll just guess at this. This will just be an estimate at this point in time. And once we have an idea of how much they wanted for the renovation of their new home, the renovation specialist will help the loan officer complete the maximum mortgage worksheet and then review this with the customer. By reviewing it with the customer while the loan officer is online with us, it helps everybody understand where the maximum mortgage amount is coming from and the few added fees that come out of the maximum mortgage worksheet. At this point in time, and after the conference call, the loan officer can now get all disclosures signed because all of the fees from the maximum mortgage worksheet will be transferred to the fee worksheet, and the renovation specialist will help with this as well. We won't do that on the conference call, but we will do it right after the call, and at this point in time, the loan officer can get all of their disclosures signed, knowing that this is a renovation loan and having all the fees properly set up. When the loan officer is ready to lock the loan, locking a renovation loan is no different than a traditional mortgage loan. The lock period needs to be from time of application until the closing date. There does not need to be an extended period after closing for a renovation loan. However, on the lock period, we get at least 45 days from time of application until time of closing. And it's not that we need an additional 2 weeks because we're slow. We just need that additional 2 weeks because it takes the customer about 2 extra weeks to determine what do they want to do to the property and to find the contractors that they want to use. So we ask that if you're going to lock the loan at time of application, do it on a 45-day lock. The loan officer will transfer their credit information and all the disclosure forms to processing, again, just like any other mortgage loan. There's no difference with a renovation. The processor that's involved will be the exact same processor that the loan officer uses on a day-to-day basis with all their other loans. As with the loan officer, there's no special training for the processors. Any processor anywhere can process a renovation loan. And the reason why is because they have the renovation specialist helping them all the way through the process with the property side of the file. So step one of the process that the processor does is they process the credit side of the file just like any other FHA or conventional loan. They order the FHA case number if this is an FHA loan, but they do not order the appraisal. The renovation specialist will order the appraisal. Now, the renovation specialist will be working with the customer to determine what is their scope of work and to help them find a contractor. And once they find a contractor and they receive the bids, the renovation specialist will review all of the bids and order a HUD consultant report if one is needed. Now, a HUD consultant report may be needed on an FHA. It may also be needed on a conventional loan. The loan officer or the processor, they don't have to worry about this because the renovation specialist will know if one is needed or not, and will probably know this at time of application. The renovation specialist will update the maximum mortgage worksheet with the actual bid amounts and the fees once they receive them. So at time of application, we did a maximum mortgage worksheet, but that was just on a pure estimated number. At this point in time, we have actual numbers, so we will update the maximum mortgage worksheet. We will validate the contractors to make sure that the contractors are properly licensed, insured, and are a legal entity within their county. We do not approve the contractors stating that they do quality work. That's up to the customer to do. That's their job. We will revise the FHA connection as well. So when the processor ordered the FHA case number, they did not put in all of the information that's needed for the renovation side. The renovation specialist will do this at this point in time, and they do it just prior to ordering the appraisal. So as you can see, there's a lot of work that has to be done before the appraisal can even be ordered. And so our renovation specialist will be pushing the customer all the way along to make sure that they get their bids in promptly and that they choose their contractors quickly so that we can get that appraisal ordered as soon as possible. Once we receive the appraisal, we go through a checklist to determine if all of the critical fields within the appraisal are filled out correctly as a subject to completion appraisal. This is different than an as-is appraisal. The appraisal will be done based on what will the property be worth after all the renovation is complete. The renovation specialist will go through the entire appraisal and make sure that it reflects a subject to completion appraisal all the way through. Once that is done, and if there's any corrections needed to be done to the appraisal that's been requested and received, the renovation specialist uploads the appraisal and the renovation package into our XDoc system and copies the loan officer and processor to let them know that this has been done. Now, we talk about the renovation package. What that means is, within the renovation package, there's the appraisal, the scope of work, all of the bids, as well as several disclosures that the contractor had to sign and the borrower had to sign that are separate from the disclosures that the loan officer had them sign. So the renovation specialist will make sure that all of these disclosures are properly filled out and signed and will make them part of the renovation package that they upload into the XDoc system. Now, while all of this is going on, of course, the processors continue to process the loan. When they complete processing, they transfer it to underwriting. Now, they don't have to wait for the renovation package to be completed. They can submit to underwriting without the appraisal. Underwriter will just condition for the renovation package as part of the conditions within the credit approval. Now, when the underwriter gets involved, they underwrite the file like any other 203B or conventional renovation loan, or conventional loan, excuse me. As with the processor and the loan officers, there's no specific underwriters for renovation loans. Any underwriter anywhere can underwrite our renovation loan just like they underwrite a conventional loan or an FHA loan. They underwrite the appraisal, but they don't necessarily have to pay a lot of attention to the renovation piece of it because we've already taken care of that. However, the underwriter will review the cost estimates and will condition for any appraisal conditions or renovation work that they think are necessary. On an FHA loan, the underwriter needs to sign off on the maximum mortgage worksheet and the FHA assurance of completion form. The renovation specialist will complete these forms for the underwriter, and we will have them in the XDoc system for the underwriter to sign. The underwriter conditions for credit like they normally would, and the processor resolves the credit conditions just like they normally would, except they don't do the appraisal conditions. Any appraisal conditions that come up, the renovation specialist will take care of those. The processor uploads all credit conditions back into the XDoc system and submits back to underwriting. And then the underwriter at this point here approves the mortgage or clears it to close. At this point in time, the whole process is complete, and we're ready to go to closing, and we'll close the loan just like we would close any other FHA or conventional loan. So to summarize, keep in mind, process is our product. The reason why most lenders will not do a renovation loan is because of the additional risk and the amount of work that it takes. The majority of lenders don't have this system, and they don't understand how this system works. It's because of this system that the risk is well managed, and we can still close a renovation loan in about the same time frame that we can close any other mortgage loan. So the process is our product, and by following the process, it makes our product very valuable. There's two professional teams working simultaneously with the customer. There's the loan officer and the processor and the renovation group. Together they work simultaneously with the customer to make sure that we close according to the contract date or sooner. And well-defined systems create predictable results. By having our systems well-defined, we can analyze whenever there's any type of glitches or problems, and we can analyze where is this coming from, and we can go back into the system, adjust it, fix it, replace it, or trash it if we need to, and make it better all the way through. So well-defined systems create predictable results. Now, one other thing that I want to go over, and this is the last thing, it's just kind of a word of warning, is to make sure that if you know for a fact that the customer is going to do a renovation loan, please follow this system in its entirety. Because if you disclose knowing the customer intended to do a renovation loan and you did not include the proper fees in blocks 1, 3, and 6 of the GFE, you cannot change them with a change of circumstance. We, as a company, will end up eating those fees because we will not be able to charge the customer. Well, if you have any questions, please call your renovation specialist or send an email to renovation@starkeymtg.com. I hope this training has been helpful, and I'm looking forward to our shared success. Thank you very much. Bye.